Uh-oh, Democrats. Uh-oh, Bernie Sanders. Uh-oh, Joe Biden. Uh-oh, Alexandria, last call for alcohol, Ocasio-Cortez. I guess we had a couple of elections this week, huh? People in Virginia are fed up with the reign of terror, Terry McAuliffe. People in New Jersey want lower taxes. Half the state anyway. The other half wants to be told they're going to get lower taxes. All right, fine. Let's discuss. And let's figure out what exactly went wrong for the liberal Democrats. I'll give you my opinion. See if you agree. Let me do this. Let me tell you what I heard a chorus of Democrats on cable news, social media, the pundits, the talking heads, and just regular people out there, what everyone on the left seemed to be saying the day after the election, because it was pretty much the same thing. Everyone seemed to be saying the same exact thing on the left. So let's go through and discuss what I heard, what you probably heard, and I'll give you a little bit of commentary on each thing. There were like 3 or 4 things that I heard on the left. Number 1, messaging. We got beat on the messaging. Our messaging has to get better on the left. They lie about the issues, and we tell the truth. We've got to get better on messaging. Now listen, I'm certainly not here to toot my own horn. But I did a show here on the Comparison Group podcast on May the 4th. Calm down, Star Wars people. Back on May the 4th, I did a show entitled Why Liberals Are Morons. Go back and listen to the show. I encourage you. I beseech you, go back and listen to the show from May the 4th on comparisongroup. You can go to comparisongroup.com. You can go to Apple Podcast, iTunes, Amazon Music, Google Podcast, Spotify. I don't care where you go. Go back and listen to that show. The very first thing I said was Democrats are horrible at messaging. The very first thing. In explaining why liberals are morons. Now, I know I just said in my last episode, I don't like painting groups of people with one brush and calling them things like stupid or idiots or morons. I don't like it. I said, I'll do it, but I don't like it. And so I did a show, Why Liberals Are Morons, and the number one thing I talked about was your messaging. Back on May the 4th, I talked about how defund the police was hurting Democrats. Now, all of a sudden, all these Democrats are coming out. Our messaging. Now, listen, I'm no genius. I know there are plenty of people on the left who knew the Democrats had a problem with messaging long before I said it on May the 4th on this show. But it's just interesting. After a rough election, the Democrats have determined we got to get better at messaging. That's like a winemaker going, we got to get better at growing grapes. Well, you're politicians. Messaging is what you're supposed to be able to do. Communicating with your constituents is what you're supposed to be able to do. If you got to get better at it, okay, fine. But it shouldn't come to you like a discovery. It should just be something that you've known all along. We're not getting our message out to our constituents. But here's your real problem. Here's your real problem, Democrats. Coming from a humble center-left guy, your real problem is 1,000 times I heard, we got to get better at messaging. We got to get better at messaging. At no point did I hear, we got to improve our message. The message might be the problem, not the messaging, but the message. At no time did I hear, we need better messengers. We need better messengers. I didn't hear that not one time from any talking head, any pundit, any person on Twitter, any person anywhere on social media, nowhere in the media. It wasn't even a consideration. Nope, we just got to get better at our messaging. They tell people lies, we tell the truth, we're better, they're worse, and we got to explain that to people. Maybe your message is the problem. Maybe your messengers are the problem. Somehow this Democratic Party has convinced itself after Joe Biden won the election, this is suddenly a progressive country. Suddenly we're all progressives now. Suddenly if you're on the left, you either are a progressive or you better be a progressive. You better be a progressive, Joe Manchin. We won't stand for any more moderates in the party. Everybody's got to be progressive all of a sudden on the left, I suppose. I like a state like Virginia. I don't particularly like some of these things I'm hearing about Youngkin, who just got elected governor. But I like a state like Virginia who says, you know what, sometimes we vote Democrat, sometimes we vote Republican. I like that. I don't like a guy who's against gay marriage, like Youngkin is. What is that? It's 2021. It's 2021, right? Yeah, it's 2021. Who's still against gay marriage? Come on. Come on. I don't like a guy who uses critical race theory as a central part of his campaign, that he's going to ban critical race theory. I don't particularly like that because it is untruthful. It is misleading. No one's teaching critical race theory in schools. I don't know that there's an intention or a push to teach critical race theory in schools, but I don't like Democrats who don't have the answer for it. I don't like Democrats whose answer is parents don't have any say in what's being taught to their children. That's just stupid. Let me help you out, Democrats. Let me help you out on the critical race theory being taught in school answer going forward. Here's what you say. You have kids? You worried about what they're being taught in school? Go home and ask them. What city was Martin Luther King shot in? What year was the Emancipation Proclamation signed? Who was Frederick Douglass, and why is he an important person in our history? What president signed the Civil Rights Act into law? Go ask your kids that. All these things taught in our schools. Go ask them. You got a 50-50 shot, maybe, of them having the answer to any of those questions. I don't know that we've ever created a racist or non-racist by what's taught in schools. I do know we can create a racist or a non-racist by what's taught at home. So I'm a little more worried about what's being taught to kids at home than I am at school. And maybe we all should be worried a little more about that than critical race theory. That's your answer, Democrats, going forward. You're welcome. But back to your messaging. We're right on the issues. You're convinced. You're convinced you're right on the issues. No, you're not. No, you're not. Not all the issues. Not for all the people. There are some issues that work for some people. Childcare assistance, for instance. You're convinced you're right on that issue. What if I have no children? What if I'm an older person and my children are grown? Climate change. We can reduce carbon emissions by 2030 if we do this today. What if I need to put gas in my car today, not in 2030? I need to work at the coal plant to pay my mortgage today, not in 2030. So sure, maybe you're right on the issue of climate change, but how does that affect me today? My wallet today? Paid family leave? Yeah, sure, sounds nice. But unless it touches someone I know or touches me directly, do I really care? Am I voting up or down because of paid family leave? I don't think so. And oh, by the way, I should say, I see Nancy Pelosi is listening to the show because I railed against the paid family leave in the bill, the $3.5 trillion reconciliation bill, and they took it out. And then I came back the next show and said that I was okay. I stood corrected on the paid family leave, and they put it back in. So, Nancy, you can't run this government based on what I say on this show. I barely know what I'm talking about. A lot of this stuff I'm just making up as I go along. So, just so you know. But anyway, where was I? Oh, yeah. You think you're right on all the issues. And again, people's position on issues depends on people's position in life. Everyone is not going to agree on all of the issues the same way that you see them. It's why you lost the suburbs of Virginia. Because people in the suburbs of Virginia say things differently than perhaps people in the suburbs of San Francisco or the suburbs of Alabama or the suburbs of Ohio. And as people in the suburbs do, they talk to one another. They're out cutting the grass or putting the garbage out. And they say, "Hey, Sally, how you making out?" "Well, not so good, actually. It was bad enough. My little restaurant was closed all throughout the pandemic. Now that I'm open, I can't get anyone to come in and work." "What about you, Craig? How are you doing?" "Well, not so good. You know, I own those couple of rental properties, and I haven't been able to collect the rent. I can't evict the people, and I still have to keep making repairs." "What about you, Max? How are you doing?" "Well, not so good. You know, we make the bulk of our money during the holidays, but because of these supply chain shortages, we don't know if we're going to have any inventory to sell." "Hey, Darren, how you making out?" "Well, I got to be honest, I'm a little bit worried. You know, Caroline and I don't make a ton of money, but we are above that $450,000 a year. And if our taxes go up, I'm not quite sure we're going to be able to pay our bills, especially with Caroline's cocaine habit." So you see, liberals, there's other issues out there that you're not right on, that people are concerned about. The position depends on their position in life. And you're ignoring those people. You ignored the people in the suburbs of Virginia, and that's why you lost Virginia. And you came pretty doggone close to losing New Jersey. "Oh, but it's not a big deal." Maybe, maybe not. Heard a lot of Democrats say that. It's one election. It's not a big deal. Maybe, maybe not. It depends on how you now respond in your bad messaging going forward. That will determine whether or not it's a big deal next year in the midterm elections. Moving on. The other thing I heard quite a bit was, this is Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema's fault. It's all their fault. If only we had been able to pass the two bills, the infrastructure, reconciliation bills, we would be just fine. We would have won these elections. If only. If only. They were not standing in the way. If we had gotten those bills. No. Let me make a correction here, because I keep hearing the Democrats are fighting amongst themselves. The Democrats are fighting amongst themselves. The Democrats aren't fighting amongst themselves. The Democrats are fighting against Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema. But they're not really even fighting. Maybe Kyrsten Sinema. I don't know what her problem is. But not Joe Manchin. Joe Manchin says, yeah, infrastructure. I'm with you. Joe Manchin says, do a smaller reconciliation bill. That's all. Give me an analysis of what this might do to our deficit. Give me an analysis of what this might do to inflation. And if things look good, I'm on board. So he's not fighting against the Democrats. The Democrats are fighting against him. The Democrats they're not really fighting amongst themselves. They're fighting against these two senators who are saying, listen, not for nothing, we're from red states. Once again, we're not progressives. The country is not progressives. The swing states are not progressives. We're moderates. Give us a moderate bill and we'll pass it. Like the infrastructure bill that got, 21 Republican senators on board? Something like that? The infrastructure bill. Pass that. Pass the infrastructure bill and celebrate it as an accomplishment. But no. Progressives won't allow it. So the Democrats aren't fighting amongst themselves. They're fighting against common sense and reality. The reality that this is not a progressive country. That's what they're fighting against. They don't want to accept that. What's the other thing I heard? Oh, yeah, this was a big one. Everyone ran to Twitter to say this. Where are the Republicans talking about voter fraud now? How come the Republicans aren't talking about voter fraud in Virginia? I guess voter fraud doesn't exist. Listen, the Republicans aren't talking about voter fraud in Virginia for the same reason Democrats didn't talk about voter fraud or Russian interference after Joe Biden got elected. Prior to the election, the run-up to the election, Democrats were holding a hearing about the potential of Russian interference once a week. Remember Moscow Mitch? They were calling him Moscow Mitch. They wanted to pass legislation to protect the election from Russian interference. Do you think Russia didn't try to interfere in the last election? China, Iran, whoever didn't try to interfere in the last election? Of course they did. Of course they did. May even have succeeded in some cases in a small way. Have the Democrats held any hearings about that? Have the Democrats talked about it? Have the Democrats brought up the possibility of Russian interference in the election going forward? Absolutely not. They don't talk about it anymore. That's why you don't hear Republicans talking about voter fraud in Virginia. Hope that answers that question for you. I'm more fired up than usual today, it appears. I hope I'm not coming off as preachy. I don't want to come off as preachy. I'm excited today for some reason. It's Friday, November 5th, by the way. I should start giving the dates in these shows so people know exactly when they're listening to the show. Friday, November 5th, in the year of our Lord, 2021. That's what today is. You know what? By the way, if you don't mind, give me a minute here. Let me just do something real quick I need to do. I need to just take down some notes, some things I have to post up and have to try and remember to do going forward. I got to remember these. I got to write these things down because I tend to forget, and it's very unprofessional of me. But just a couple of things here. Let me just write this down. Remember to publish the show after I'm done recording it. I'm going to write that down. Do not call the audience suckers and rubes. I got to write this down. Post it up, remember it. Always try and make a point each show. All right, there we go. What were we talking about? Oh, yeah, the election. Let me just go back for a minute, if I could, if you don't mind, to the messaging that I was talking about, because I see a lot the word that Democrats, the Biden administration, want to use when they talk about their agenda, their framework. Now it's a framework. We're building a house now. It's no longer an agenda. It's a Build Back Better framework. But okay, whatever. I'll go with it. The framework that they're trying to get passed is going to be transformative. That's the word they're using a lot now. This is going to be transformative. This is going to fundamentally transform people's lives. They have no idea, no clue. And you can refer back to my last show to understand why this is important. The show I did, Why I Listen to Conservative Media. They have no clue that over in conservative media, the word transformative is being interpreted in an entirely different way. In the left-leaning media, the Democrats are crowing about being transformative. In the right-leaning media, the conservatives are saying they're trying to transform this country. It's a completely different interpretation of the same word, and Democrats have no idea. It's freaking conservatives out to say they're going to transform the country, that this agenda, this framework is going to be transformative. I just find that funny. And again, it goes to the messaging, and it goes to when you don't listen to the other side and when you don't know how the other side is feeling and how they're seeing things and how they're hearing what you're saying. You think you're saying it in a certain way, and the people on the other side are hearing it in a completely different way. Now, the far out, far right conservatives, no big deal. But there's some independents over there. There are some independents, center right people who are listening to that and are nervous about what this transformation is going to look like. And don't kid yourself into thinking that you can win elections without independents. You can't win elections without independents, and independents are the group of people you're losing the most with this progressive agenda that's being pushed through Congress. And Democrats are oblivious to it. They're oblivious to it like a guy is oblivious to what turns women on. Now, I'm certainly no ladies' man like Lindsey Graham, but at the same time, I recognize what a lot of guys don't. You have a lot of guys, hey, baby, how about if I have the guys over and we watch the football game? You make us some food, bring us beers every 5 minutes. We fill up the room with farts for 3 hours. They leave. I give you some good love making for 3 minutes, fall asleep. Would that turn you on, sweetie? No. You know what turns women on? Do the dishes. Take an interest in her day at work. When she's in a bad mood, don't ask her if she had a bowl of grouchy flakes. Ask her what's wrong. In other words, Democratic politicians, stop making it about you. Stop making it about what you think is right, what you think is going to turn the American people on. Guess what you haven't figured out yet? Even if I needed help, just like a lot of conservatives out there, just like a lot of Republicans out there, who'll take that money if you give it to them. Absolutely, they'll take that child care. Absolutely, they'll take that pre-K. Absolutely, they'll take the benefits for seniors. But they don't want to admit it. They don't want you to tell them that they need it. Just give it to them. If I get drunk and lose all my money at the racetrack and I can't pay my mortgage, I don't want people telling me how I messed up and how now I need help and now how they got to bail me out. I just want to find an envelope full of money in my mailbox. But that's no good. Then we won't get credit. We won't get credit for what we're doing. Yes, you will. Yes, you will. People will recognize. People will recognize what's going on, and you'll get credit from the independents. Once again, the people in the center, the people on the far right, no. But the people that you need, the independents, you'll get the credit. Just like Obama did. Obama never made a big showing of what he was doing in office or when he accomplished something. Whenever the jobs reports came out and jobs started to go up and there were $200,000 a month, 200,000 jobs a month, 200,000 jobs a month, a streak of job creation, every month Obama would come out and say, it's because of the hard work of the American people. He would never really take credit for it. But people knew. People knew what was going on. And he got to do credit. And that's why he got elected twice. And that's why he has such a high approval rating. I support Joe Biden, but I cringe every single time Biden talks about the jobs that he's created since he's been president. I just saw for the first time today a tweet, maybe from the labor secretary, someone else in the administration, that said, we've recovered 80% of the jobs lost due to the pandemic. Now, that's the way to say it. We've recovered the jobs lost. Not that we've created the jobs, because that's misleading. It's just simply not true. They're not created jobs. They're recovered jobs. So again, it's just the subtle little way you talk to people that's going to turn people on or turn people off. The last thing I'll say, and the last little bit of kind of what I heard the Democrats saying the day after the election was, they're extreme and we're not. They lie and we don't. Well, first of all, Democrats do lie. Democrats are misleading. I'm not going to get into a whole thing on this, but Democrats are misleading. I've actually put some fact checks up on the website, www.thecomparisongroup.com. You can feel free to go and check out for yourself on PolitiFact, the different fact-checking websites. Democrats can be misleading as well. And by the way, you don't do yourselves any favors by saying the other side lies, because that makes the other side, who are listening to what the people are saying, feel like you're saying they're stupid because they're believing lies. So it's not helpful. But the point I want to make is this. When the left points out or says the other side, the right is extreme, they're right. They're absolutely 100% correct. And you know what? There's no excuse for Democrats ever to lose a swing state, particularly one like Virginia. All the Democrats had to do after Joe Biden was elected, not be extreme. The Republican Party has gotten so incredibly extreme behind Donald Trump. All the Democratic Party had to do was just be normal. Don't be crazy. Don't be extreme. And what did you do? You went to the extreme. You said, let's spend $80 gazillion trillion. And let's do it on social programs that half the country hates. That's what you did. You went to the extreme. All you had to do was be normal and govern soundly, not be transformative. Pass the infrastructure bill that everyone wanted, that had bipartisan support. Extend the child care tax credit. That's it. Just that. Just extend the child care tax credit. I'm not for that, but I could see where it would be a positive move for the Democratic Party. So go ahead, extend the child care tax credit. Just that. Pass a bill for universal pre-K. I'm for that. Pass a bill that pays for vision and dental for seniors. And that's it. Not this huge, grand, transformative bill that can be picked apart and criticized. Smaller, consistent bills coming out of Congress that can be celebrated and pointed to as progress. But oh no, why couldn't you do that? Because you're worried about losing the midterms next year. And then if you lose the midterms and you lose Congress, then you can't do anything, right? So you decided you got to put all your eggs in one basket and do it all now. And so you've created a self-fulfilling prophecy. You're going to lose the midterms next year because you went extreme. You went extreme. The one thing that you couldn't do, the one thing that if you had not done it, you'd be just fine. Small, consistent progress out of their government. That's all people really want. I know people out there, oh, we got to go bold. We got to go bold. No, they're just repeating what they hear politicians say because no one talks like that in their regular lives. If you say, hey, honey, where you want to go for dinner tonight? I don't know, but we got to go bold. Nobody talks like that. Small, consistent progress. Just get me wins. Just get wins every 3 months. That's all. I don't need you blowing out teams every week. Just small, consistent wins. And you would be just fine. And again, the reason you would just be fine is because of the other side. Because of how extreme the other side is. You now have a sitting senator, Ted Cruz, in a congressional hearing going, Nazi salute, what's the big deal? Ted Cruz dismisses that someone gives a Nazi salute at a school board meeting. Dismisses violence at a school board meeting. When Cory Booker points out there were 20 instances, Ted Cruz says, yeah, but only 15 of them, only 5 of them were violent. I mean, come on. What's the big deal? You have an entire party who watched an insurrection on January 6th. I shouldn't use that word. I don't want to use the word everybody else uses. Riot at the Capitol. Who watched a riot at the Capitol on January 6th. An entire party that says they were tourists. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think a couple tour groups did come through on January 6th. What's the big deal? How'd all the windows get broken? Who made that mess? It's on video. There's a great documentary about it on HBO right now, 4 Hours at the Capitol. Go watch it. It's fantastic. It's insane what went on that day. And an entire party is going, couple tour groups. What's the big deal? You had the most recent president from that party that has 90% approval in that party that is so toxic, he's the only president in recent history that can't figure out how to capitalize on being president. He wants to do a book deal. No publisher will touch him because, hey, look, we only have 500 fact checkers here on staff. There's no way we can fact check any book you'd write. So he can't get a book deal. Most former presidents go out and get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to give speeches, but he can't stop running his mouth for free. So why would anybody pay him? He blew the chance to start a cable media channel because of the riot at the Capitol, because they can't get advertisers. They would never be able to get advertisers. Nobody wants to be associated with him on cable TV. So now he's trying the social media thing, try to start a social media company, which is nothing more than just a way to try and do a money grab. That's all it really is. It's just a money grab. That's the guy that has 90% approval on that party. You got governors winning in states that can't directly answer the question, would you mandate the measles vaccine in schools? Just because they can't bring themselves to say vaccines are good. There are governors from the Republican Party who appear to be on the side of coronavirus. Extreme. They're extreme. And all the Democratic Party had to be was not extreme. And you couldn't do it. So I don't blame the voters across this country. I don't blame the voters of Virginia. I don't blame the voters of New Jersey who elected a truck driver that spent no money on his campaign to unseat a Senate president, a state Senate president who had been there for 20 years. I don't blame the voters. I don't call the voters stupid. I don't call the voters uninformed. If people listen to this show and they say, I don't understand the point that you're trying to make, I don't blame them. I don't say, well, you must be stupid. I say, I didn't do a good enough job of explaining my point of view. I didn't do a good enough job of getting across what I was trying to get across. That's what I say, honestly. All kidding aside. One of the biggest challenges I have doing this is trying to figure out how do I talk in a way that doesn't give people the impression I'm talking in absolutes, or I'm talking as if I have all the answers, or what I say is the way it has to be, as if I know what the future holds for the Democratic or Republican Party. But I find when I keep trying to qualify everything that I say, it makes it harder for me to get my point across. So I have to get away from doing that. And hopefully, going forward, as people listen more, as people understand the show more, as people kind of get the humor and the sarcasm in the show, I won't have to qualify everything. People will just get it. They'll just understand. They'll understand that if I talk about critical race theory the way I talked about it earlier in the show, it's not meant to be taken as any kind of a declarative position for or against critical race theory. But we got to talk about it, and we got to recognize when race is used in a political campaign and is effective, that's a problem. At this point, once again, in 2021, race should no longer be an effective weapon in a campaign on either side. On either side. I just saw a statement from Cori Bush, U.S. Representative from Missouri's 1st District, who says Joe Manchin being against the Build Back Better agenda is akin to racism. That's what Cori Bush said, a black politician, because Joe Manchin is opposed to parts of the Build Back Better agenda, that's akin to racism. Now, very quickly, you've heard me say this before, if you're black and you don't want white people to think all social programs are just for black people, just stop making it sound like all social programs are just for black people. White people will use the child care tax credit. White people will use the universal pre-K. White people will use all the provisions in the Build Back Better agenda. So stop making it sound like it's just for black people. Number 2, recognize white people are sick of everything being made about race. And white people, if you think you're sick of everything being about race, just imagine how black people feel. Because everything tends to be about race. This is the grown-up adult way to talk. This is how I want to talk. Grown up and adult. Let's be honest with one another. There's no reason a white business owner in Ohio should feel any differently than a black business owner in Virginia. There's no reason a white mother in Kansas should feel any differently than a black mother in San Francisco. They should just want their kids to get a good education. That's all. But the politicians, the media, they keep pushing it. They keep pushing the race. And we fall for it. Fall for it every time. So my solution for the Democrats? Stop thinking you got the cure for what ails me. Stop thinking you got the solution for everyone in this country. Stop thinking this country is a one-size-fits-all country. It's not. Stop with the transformative agenda and make little improvements where you can, where necessary, in people's lives, people that need it. The people that need it are the people that can't get it for themselves. That's the people that need it. You're a little confused on who actually needs help from the federal government. You know, I don't know if there's anything, and if there is, it certainly has been talked about, for mental health in the Build Back Better framework. Is there anything for mental health in there? Every time there's a mass shooting, every time there's a police-involved shooting. Some politician goes on TV and talks about how we need to improve mental health in this country, how we need to invest in mental health, helping people with mental health problems in this country. Every shooting, every police-involved shooting, when it turns out it was a person with mental health issues. And yet, where is it? Where is it? When this bill was $3.5 trillion, where was funding for mental health? And so recognize the people who need help are the people who can't do it for themselves. The people who deserve help are the people who have earned it, like the seniors. And lastly, remember it's about the messenger too. Oh, if only the Democrats understood a little bit about salesmanship. To buy something from someone, you really need to like them. Unless you're just desperate to have it, you got to have it, and it's the only place you can get it. When you buy something from someone, it's because you like them. We like to buy things from people that we like, that people that are like us. Those tend to be the people that we like, people who are like us. I saw Joe Biden the other day having a press conference talking about the election. At least that's what he was there. He was there to talk about vaccines for children. But of course, all the questions were about the elections. And in the middle of the questioning, a reporter's telephone rang. His cell phone rang. And Joe Biden kind of looked over and said, if that's Donald Trump, tell him I'm busy. And right away, he tensed up. He felt like maybe he had made a bad joke. He felt like maybe he had had a moment that's going to be criticized in the future. But it was funny. It was a funny moment. If that's Trump, tell him I'm busy. I would have loved to see Joe Biden take that even further. I would have loved to see Joe Biden say, who is that? Who's that calling you while you're working? Who is it? Maybe it was the reporter's mother. Who knows? And what if Joe Biden said, Dad, give me the phone. It's your mother? Give me the phone. Let me talk to her. And the reporter handed the phone to Joe Biden. He talked to the guy's mother for 30 seconds. Wouldn't that be funny? Wouldn't that make you feel like Joe Biden is just a real person? We all know he is. Joe's a little too real sometimes. But we don't see it out of him anymore because he's being so careful. He's being so careful with everything that he says, everything that he does. He's so worried. So much like me, he has to stop qualifying and being nervous about everything he says and just talk to people like a real person. And hopefully, if I do that, you rubes will keep listening. Oh, dang it. Thanks for listening. Follow me on Twitter at @comparison_show, @comparison_show. Visit the website, www.thecomparisongroup.com, www.thecomparisongroup.com. Now listen, I'm trying to get away from maybe people listening so much on the website. Don't ask me. I don't understand. But I think I need to direct people to listen more on Apple, on iTunes, on Spotify, and subscribe. If you want the show to grow, if you want the show to be popular, if you enjoy the show, which you should, you really should, then I need subscribers. So help me out. It's free. It's the same show. You just go to those different platforms and push play. So why can't you do that? Why can't you do that to help me out? Now, when you go to these platforms, sometimes I don't like the way they lay out my show. They don't always start with the most recent show first. I don't know why. But for instance, if you go to iTunes, you can type in and search The Comparison Group. But then you also have to click on the icon to get all the shows to come up and for them to come up in order. So go ahead, check it out, play around with it, figure out how to do it. As I said, it would greatly help me out if I could get some more subscribers. And we as a group can grow the comparison group, all of us together. And there's a method to this madness, which I will be discussing in the future. If we can grow the comparison group into something like The Tea Party. Oh. Yeah, I said it. So what? I can't dream? I can't dream of the comparison group? My audience? My listeners? My inspiration? The people who inspire me to do this? Growing into a center-left, center-right powerhouse like the Tea Party? And changing the course of this country? I can't dream of something like that? Well, yeah, you're probably right. That probably won't happen. But listen, maybe I'll make a couple bucks. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next time.